first snow fell over Dunwich Hollow, it didn't melt, it stayed. Each flake clung to the cobblestones like it was afraid to leave, as if it remembered what had happened there. For more than a century, no one in that town dared to hang a wreath, sing a carol, or even whisper the word Christmas, because the last time they did, something came, and what the townsfolk found the next morning still has no explanation. It was supposed to be a peaceful place, nestled deep in the forests of Vermont. Dunwich Hollow looked like a postcard come to life. Pine trees dusted with white, candles glowing from every window, chimneys breathing ribbons of smoke into the frozen sky. The year was 1923, and Christmas meant everything there. The entire town would gather in the square for the lighting of the great spruce, a towering tree said to be planted by the town's founders themselves nearly 100 years earlier. But that year, something felt off. The snow came earlier than usual, thicker, heavier, and at night, when the wind blew across the valley, people swore they could hear singing. Not cheerful hymns or carols, something slower, colder, a voice humming through the trees. On December 22nd, the mayor's daughter, little Clara Hemsworth, brought home a gift she found outside their door. It was small, wrapped in old red cloth, tied with twine. No note, no name. Inside, a glass ornament, hand-blown, delicate, painted with gold leaf. But the strange thing was what it showed. Not a manger, not Santa. It showed their town square, covered in snow, with people standing still, every window dark. And in the center of the square, a tall figure, thin, draped in something black. Clara thought it was a prank, but that night she heard the same humming sound right outside her window. By morning, Clara was gone. Her footprints led out the front door, down the path, and straight into the woods. And then they just stopped. No sign of struggle, no sign of her. Just a circle in the snow, perfectly smooth, as if the flakes had melted and refrozen. The mayor sent men into the forest to search, but none of them stayed long. They said they saw shadows moving between the trees. One man came back shaking, saying he'd found more ornaments hanging from the branches like fruit, each one showing something different. A family, a house, a face, and on the back of each, a date. December 24th, 1923. The next day. That night, the mayor called an emergency meeting at the church. Snow battered the windows. Candles flickered with every gust of wind. And for the first time in the town's history, the great spruce in the square remained unlit. Everyone was afraid, though no one said it. Then the church bells rang 3 times. No one had touched them. When the sound faded, the doors blew open and the single ornament rolled across the floor. It was cracked. Inside, a drop of water shimmered like a tear. Someone picked it up and whispered, "There's something alive in there." That's when the lights went out. In the pitch black, they heard it again. That same low humming. Soft at first, then louder, coming from the direction of the square. The townsfolk gathered what courage they could and stepped outside. Snow whipped at their faces. The wind howled through the empty streets. And there, at the base of the great spruce, were the ornaments, dozens of them, each one glowing faintly red, pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside each, a face, the missing men, the mayor, even Clara. Their eyes were open, their mouths were moving, singing that same melody. And above them stood the figure from the ornament, tall, black, faceless, holding something that glimmered in the snow, a single golden star. No one remembers what happened next, at least not clearly. Survivors said they woke up in their homes the next morning. The snow had stopped. The ornaments were gone, but so were a dozen people. The mayor, his family, the search party, the priest. The spruce tree had split clean down the middle, as if struck by lightning, and burned into its bark were the words, "You were warned." That spring, Dunwich Hollow passed a law. Christmas was banned. No decorations, no gifts, no gatherings. Anyone caught celebrating would be fined or jailed. They even changed the name of December 25th, calling it the Quiet Day. And for the next 100 years, they kept it that way. Historians dismissed the whole thing as hysteria. But here's where it gets strange. In the town's archive, sealed behind glass, is a single surviving ornament from that night. It was found buried in the snow 50 years later by a survey team. The glass hasn't aged. The gold leaf hasn't faded. And if you look closely enough, you can see something moving inside. Not a reflection, a shadow, like someone walking slowly towards you through fog. Every year, just before Christmas, the temperature around that display drops by exactly 2 degrees. And faintly, if the museum is quiet, you can hear that same humming sound. Local legends say the figure was something ancient, something that came before Christmas, before the idea of joy or light. Some call it the collector, a spirit drawn to towns that forget the meaning of the season. Not joy, but greed. Not love, but vanity. And once it visits, it takes everything hollow out of the town. Literally. They say that's why the place is called Dunwich Hollow, because it's empty now. Completely empty. Every house still stands. The shops, the church, even the spruce tree, now a blackened stump. But there hasn't been a single living soul there since 1974. A reporter named Ellen Morris went there that winter, determined to prove the legend wrong. She brought a camper crew. They never came back. Their van was found just outside the town line, headlights still on. Inside, the heater was running. Their coats were on the seats, and hanging from the rearview mirror was an ornament. It showed Ellen standing in front of the spruce, smiling. The timestamp on the photo, December 24th. The next day, to this day, Dunwich Hollow remains closed to the public. Snow covers the streets year-round. No birds, no animals, just silence. Every few winters, hikers claim to see lights flickering through the trees. Some say it's the reflection of the ornaments still hanging somewhere deep in the forest. Others say it's the people reliving that night again and again, singing their gold song to anyone who dares listen. If you ever drive through Vermont in December, you might see a faded sign half buried in the snow. It reads, "Town of Dunwich Hollow, founded 1824. The rest of the words have been scratched out. But if you park, roll down your window, and wait long enough, you'll hear something. Not the wind, not the trees, just humming. Slow, low. And if you look in your rearview mirror, you might see a small red ornament hanging there, perfectly round, perfectly clear, and inside a reflection that isn't yours." Some say Dunwich Hollow was cursed. Others believe the townsfolk brought it on themselves. But historians even today can't agree on what really happened that night. They call it the forgotten town that banned Christmas. And yet, every December 24th, snow still falls there, even when the weather says it shouldn't. As if something ancient still remembers, still waiting for someone to light the tree again, like a horror story's narrator. Some stories fade with time, but others just wait in the dark, patient, silent, waiting for the next carol to begin. And when it does, it won't stop until someone listens. Because in Dunwich Hollow, Christmas never truly ended. It just went quiet. Subscribe for more real Christmas mysteries, because some stories were never meant to be told.